Most men can't remember the first time that they were told to be a man. It usually isn't some big, overly dramatic moment, more something small. Being scared, crying, needing help. It's a phrase we've all likely heard, thought, or said, and it's usually used in the name of promoting resilience or motivating someone to push through adversity. Those are good intentions, and it isn't necessarily wrong to desire strength or maturity, so what's my issue? Why go through the whole application process and talk on the stage in front of you here today? Last semester, I took a graphic design thinking class, and our final project was called the 50 Things Visual Narrative. I wanted to challenge myself, so I set out to interview 50 men across campus and beyond to ask about their experiences with mental health as a man. It was a great time, but it wasn't until I was observing all my responses that I realized I had found a pattern. One person hearing "be a man" is a moment in time, but multiple hearing it, despite different backgrounds, indicates that something bigger is at play here. First, let's look at what the phrase actually means, or rather implies. At its core, it's a demand that someone adopts behaviors or attitudes associated with manhood. However, unlike be responsible or be brave or be strong, be a man is tied to identity, not just behavior. This means that not only is there a right and wrong way to meet those expectations, failing to meet those expectations isn't just failing at a task, it's failing at being who you are. This can be incredibly psychologically damaging for young men who may not even know what it means to be a human, let alone a man. And what kind of expectations are we talking about here? Well, if I were to say manly or masculine, I'm sure something to accompany that just popped in your heads, right? When people think of a man, they typically think of someone who is strong, dependable, someone who can provide and protect, and along with that must never show weakness, must never show pain, must never show vulnerability, because after all, emotion is weakness, and weakness means failure. This unspoken pressure to perform, to be vulnerable, financially successful, assertive, it's cumulative. Not everyone has the same stress threshold. It often pushes men to hide their struggles, avoid therapy, overwork themselves, bottle everything up, replace any kind of vulnerability with humor, stoicism, or anger. Sometimes there are men who even police the behavior of other men, reinforcing the idea that it's not okay to not be okay, at least around others. So many young men have had this phrase follow them throughout their formative years, and the words will change, but the message doesn't. It can be stop crying as a child, or don't be so soft as a teenager. And then it's don't talk about it, deal with it, or you have to provide. It ties identity to pain tolerance, making your value as a man hinge on how well you hide the parts of yourself that need help. Why must our humanity take a backseat to our masculinity? How do men respond to this? I bet you've been wondering what these numbers are. 6 million is the number of men affected by depression in the US every year, according to the National Institute of Mental Health. Men are 2 to 3 times as likely as women to misuse drugs and alcohol, according to the Center for Behavioral Health Statistics and Quality. And finally, men die by suicide at a rate 4 times higher than women, according to Mental Health America. These outcomes don't come out of nowhere. These statistics are shocking, yes, but they're also predictable when you're teaching boys what parts of themselves they can keep. If it were harmless, we wouldn't see any consequences. But we do. And this isn't just a men's issue, it's a human one. When half the population is discouraged from being emotionally honest, the entire world loses something. We need to look at the cultural script that has been written across the course of human history and choose openness, empathy, and connection. This conversation rarely happens in a way that makes men feel safe, but young men desperately need a new model, especially in a time where social media can reinforce stereotypes and facilitate emotional isolation. And I, for one, would love to see men foster healthier relationships and better friendships. But how can we make that a reality? First of all, I'm not asking you all to fix toxic masculinity overnight. That would be crazy. Instead, I'm asking you to pay attention to the words that you use. The next time you're tempted to say, be a man, or man up, or grow a pair, maybe pause and see if you can find something a bit more human. One great alternative is to cover those behaviors like I mentioned earlier, using be strong, be responsible, or be brave. It's a great way to get your message across without placing that unspoken pressure. I also want to encourage you to think about replacing that demand with a question. What do you need right now? Whether or not you're able to help is a different matter, but simply checking in on those you care about can do more than you know. And men, if for any reason at all you think that you'd be weak if you answered that question truthfully, strength without emotional openness isn't true strength. It takes courage to open up about what you're dealing with or going through. So now I hope you know why I went through the whole application process for this. As someone who has had experiences with mental health in the past and I felt scared to talk about the way I felt, I believe that's really important that we have conversations like this and look long and hard at the way we do things. However, I want it to be known that this talk isn't about blaming a phrase. I don't want you to just completely cast out, be a man. But I want you to look beyond that. I want you to ask yourself what we want to teach boys and men about strength, emotion, and worth. Thank you.